We have seen a barrage of news reports lately about how China's economy is facing challenges, from declining exports and real estate crises to deflationary issues. But beneath all of this data, there are actual good signs that China is still a resilient and influential global economic power. And here's how. One of the most significant outcomes of China's recent economic challenges is its slowing economy. Many articles, critics, and even government leaders have been casting doubts on the Chinese economy for its role as a future economic powerhouse. But let's just see whether that economic slowdown is really bad, as some may say. Here's a graph on the annual GDP growth of China, data from the World Bank. This is one of the most often used indicators to evaluate the overall health of the Chinese economy. And in recent years, as you can tell from the graph, China's GDP growth has indeed slowed. Back a couple of years ago, China's annual GDP growth was averaging around 6 to 7% per year. But in the last few years, from 2022 to 2023, China's GDP growth has slowed. But even though it has slowed, it's still actually one of the fastest economic growth rates around the world. Let's update the graph and add the growth rate of the world and East Asia and Pacific region. Here, you can see that in 2022 and 2023, even though China's economic growth rate has slowed down, it's still competitive. In 2022, the GDP growth of China was 3%, but East Asia and Pacific region was 2.9%, whilst the world was 3.2%. The same is for 2023, where China's GDP growth was over 5.2%, while the world was 2.8%, and East Asia and Pacific was just at 4.1%. So, as you can see, despite the slowdown, China's growth still outpaces many regions and remains highly competitive globally. The same story happens when we look at China's nominal GDP. Here's the graph on that matter. Here you can see that China's current GDP hasn't really grown at all since 2021, right? But that shouldn't be the case, since we saw positive annual GDP growth, and not stagnant GDP growth. The reason why China's current GDP hasn't moved at all since 2021 isn't because the economy has stalled, but because of fluctuations in the exchange rate. China's GDP is often measured in US dollars for global comparisons, and the value of the yuan relative to the dollar plays a significant role in determining the nominal GDP. When the yuan depreciates, it can make the economy appear stagnant or shrinking in dollar terms, even if the economy is growing domestically. To understand a better picture of China's GDP, let's use the GDP in constant 2015 US dollars. What makes this different from nominal GDP is that it adjusts for inflation and exchange rate fluctuations, providing a clearer picture of the real economic growth within China. When viewed in constant 2015 US dollars, China's GDP growth is more consistent with the positive annual growth rates reported. Here, you can see that China's GDP in constant dollars has continuously grown and is even closer to the United States. Let's take a look at the quarterly GDP growth of China to see just how well the economy has performed in the past few quarters. Here, you can see that just like its annual GDP growth, the quarterly growth is also consistent and positive. It is also in these same quarters that we saw much negative news about China's economy. Yet, here you can clearly see that their GDP growth is positive and is even much better than most economies out there. And it's important to know that it's not GDP alone. There's a lot of other indicators out there that showcase why China's economy is still resilient and strong. Here's another data on the industrial production of China, data from the National Bureau of Statistics of China. This data showcases how well China's manufacturing sector, the backbone of its economy, is performing. Industrial production reflects the activity levels across factories, plants, and utilities, providing insights into the overall health of the industrial economy. Here, you can see that despite the slowdown in some sectors, industrial production has continuously grown, and it did not just grow in the past few months. It consistently posted growth month after month from pre-COVID-19. This makes sense because China has a well-performing, diversified industrial sector that is slowly transitioning to become a high-value industry. China has outperformed in sectors like renewable energy, electric vehicles, and advanced manufacturing, and these have helped offset challenges faced by traditional industries like real estate. For example, China is the world's largest producer of solar panels and batteries, and its electric vehicle industry is a global leader, with companies like BYD and NIO exporting to international markets. On top of industrial production, retail sales have also consistently been good. Here's a graph on China's retail sales. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics of China. Here you can see that, just like industrial production, retail sales continued to post consistent growth every single month. There were months that saw contraction, but that occurred only in a select few months, like in early and late 2022. Indeed, despite the fact that we are seeing low inflation in the country, retail sales growth highlights strong consumer activity, showing that low inflation has not significantly dampened domestic consumption. Instead, it may have actually supported consumer spending by keeping goods affordable and sustaining purchasing power across a broad spectrum of income groups. Thirdly, another key part of China's strong economic growth is the stock market. Yes, we have seen in recent years the decline of many Chinese company valuation. For instance, the well-known Alibaba company, which was co-founded by entrepreneur Jack Ma, saw a decline in their company market cap from more than $800 billion back in 2020 to just around $191 billion as of the time of writing. This has occurred in many other Chinese companies, but despite that, there's still a lot of companies in China that have seen strong market capitalization growth. For instance, Xiaomi has seen a strong rebound already, nearly reaching its record back in 2020 and 2021. SMIC, which is China's semiconductor giant, has also shown significant growth in its market capitalization, benefiting from the government's push for technological self-reliance and heavy investment in the semiconductor industry. These and a few other Chinese companies have still been resilient. But it is important to know that even though Chinese companies like Alibaba and Tencent saw a decline in their market capitalization, their overall business performance ranging from sales to profit is still good. As a matter of fact, here's a graph on Tencent's quarterly revenue since 2021. Here you can see how Tencent has consistently grown, where in the third quarter of 2021, the company reported revenues of 142 billion renminbi. But by the third quarter of 2024, it now rose to over 167 billion renminbi. Here's another graph on Tencent's gross profit, which, as you can see, just like revenues, it has consistently grown. And, in the latest quarterly results, it is a massive 88.8 billion renminbi. But even though there is clear growth in the company, the market cap of Tencent has still fallen, and this showcases that companies like Tencent in China may see a fall in their overall market capitalization, but their company is still growing. Fourthly, the last piece of the puzzle that we want to add is China's growing disposable income in the nationwide per capita income. Here you can see that from 2017 to 2023, China's disposable income has continuously grown. From 2021 to 2023, as it is known, is also the same year where China has seen slow inflation, and in some months, deflation. Yet you can see that from the graph right here, disposable income has still continuously gone up. Growing disposable income is a reflection of the improving standard of living for a large portion of China's population. It also serves as a critical driver of domestic consumption. As more households have more money to spend, They contribute to retail sales and other sectors, further supporting economic growth. Finally, there's also fixed investments. Here's a graph with data from the National Bureau of Statistics of China. Here you can see that in 2024, investments in fixed assets have continuously grown. Fixed assets in this context refer to the total monetary expenditure on construction and purchase of physical assets, as well as related expenses over a certain period. These can be infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, railways and airports, as well as investments in factories, buildings and utilities. Fixed investments are critical for driving economic growth because they create jobs, improve infrastructure, and support industries like manufacturing and construction. As you can see from the data that we saw in this video, China's economy, even though there are a lot of challenges that many reports show, there are still places in the economy that are resilient. Now, we are not saying that China's economy is free from problems. The challenges are real and significant, whether it's the real estate crisis, rising local government debt, or the demographic issues stemming from an aging population and a shrinking workforce. These are hurdles that require careful attention and long-term solutions. However, what the data does show is that China's economy is far from collapsing. There are areas of resilience that continue to drive growth, such as its manufacturing sector, its leadership in green energy, and its focus on innovation. Investments in fixed assets, rising disposable income, and steady consumer spending are clear indicators that parts of the economy are still performing well. For instance, while real estate has been a weak point, China's industrial production and exports in high-tech sectors like electric vehicles and semiconductors have been thriving. Companies like BYD and Huawei are examples of how China is leveraging technology and innovation to compete globally. As a matter of fact, let's dive deep into electric vehicles. Here's a graph on the electric car exports of China, data from the General Administration of Customs. Here, you can see that China's electric car exports have grown rapidly since 2021. The reason why we chose to show this is because we have seen declines of foreign investment in China, and how some Western economies, especially the United States, have been trying to decouple from China. Yet, as you can see, electric car exports, which is a high-tech and highly competitive sector, have been thriving despite these challenges. This showcases just how in-demand Chinese products still are, and they will continue to do so in the future, considering how far ahead they are in this category. So, do you think that China's economy is really going down the drain as exaggerated by some? Or will it still be a stable and resilient economy that would stand as one of the world's economic engines for growth? Well, anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.